connections. It's also possible that when the modeling is happening, say during the content courses outside, so when they're learning math, they have a course specifically in mathematics or science content outside of their methods. So it's possible that, when they're taking those content courses outside of pedagogical considerations, they still fail to make those connections. That's definitely something that we have to look more closely. But at this point, it seems like without the intentional coursework, they're not getting enough to sustain, those knowledge gains that they acquire. The other issue has to do with the cooperating teachers, as with any teacher preparation program, and that's, again, a documented challenge in the literature. There's so many issues that we have to take into account when we place our students in the field, that technology is not always a priority. So there's great variability into the technology that exists in the schools that our students are placed, into the ways in which the teachers are actually using the technology. And we have collected a lot of data related to that, and we do see that for the most part what they observe is really much more focused on presentation, so how to use an interactive whiteboard, or how to present something to students and much less on subject-specific technologies. Yeah, I saw a question.
So when you put up your list of survey questions, I was thinking the very first one was how confident do you feel in being able to fix your own technology mistakes? And when you put that up, my first thought was, well, the more that I learn about technology, the less confident I feel, because more complicated my technology uses are. Like when I was just using Word or whatever, I could do whatever, but when you start to get into more complicated technology, you realize that you can't really, you may feel less confident in your ability to help yourself. And then when I saw that dip in your data, I was thinking, I wonder if you considered whether that, I hear what you're saying, and I think that your conclusions were valid, that it could, for the reasons that it could have been for the reasons that you suggested. However, I wondered if your team thought about the fact that it's this idea of the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. So the more they realize there's this great technology out there, and they begin to try to use it, the more they realize, oh my goodness, I'm really not as good as this thought. So I wondered if you considered that in your
well, that's definitely a good point, and we do see evidence of it as they reflect, upon their learning. They start feeling confident in the beginning, then they realize all those things that they don't know. But then we also get a lot of responses such as, I've always been scared of technology. I've never considered myself, being good with technology. That's definitely one of the limitations of the survey instrument. So, putting it out there that it's a self-assessed measure. So it's possible, what you're saying, that as they begin to realize what's out there, during their coursework, but also when they go out into the field, more and more schools now, they are beginning to get mobile devices. So we do have about a third of our students who might walk into a classroom where every student has a Chromebook or, an iPad. So they begin to realize all those other things that they've never used as learners. And it's becoming overwhelming. So it's a good possibility. I think my colleague Rachel claims she's actually conducting interviews with graduates of our program to try to get into some of those issues, like what are they using when they actually go, and become classroom teachers, what part of their coursework was helpful, what is their pedagogical rationale for using technology. So I think that's a very good point to sort of go further into. Carly, you had a question.
So, you said that this course happens at the same time as the methods course, but these are elementary teachers, so they're taking multiple methods.
Correct.
So how does it structure?
So we have two blocks. In one block, so in one semester, they take literacy, social studies, technology, and field placement, and might be taking other stuff. And then in their second block, they're taking the science, math, and so, and the technology and the field experience. So you're right. So at any given point, in the course, there might be students who are either in block 1, so they're taking social studies and literacy, or block 2, science and math. Correct.
But they just take one technology.
Correct. Yes. Yes. Yeah, they don't take it, both semesters.
Right.
Yes.
I'm actually thinking back to an old study that It was a part of it. It was published somewhere. I think no one read it. But so one of the things we have elementary teachers actually looking at math games, and one of the sort of the big interesting kind of finding was as soon as they looked at math games, pedagogy went out the window. So there's times when people engage with technology and actually don't apply different kinds of knowledge. And I'm wondering if you see any of that. So as they sort of maybe engage with the blogs or these cases, if there are moments when, and maybe it's more with the blog since that's earlier on, they think about using the technology, but their pedagogy is a little bit impoverished, and vice versa. So that sometimes as we engage in more technology, some of those other knowledge pieces don't actually integrate.
Yeah, we see that actually. Yeah, we do see variability into the ways in which. So in one of the studies that I put out there that has been published, we do see this variability into how their knowledges were presented. So we don't want to call it levels, but some researchers in the field, they call them levels. So those different levels of TPAC, where you're right, so the pedagogy might be a little more impoverished at the beginning. They know how to use the tools. They are using them to accomplish a learning objective, but they're not using them in the ways that we would have hoped to use them. And that's fairly typical if we go back to work, in the mid-90s, with the Apple Classrooms of Tomorrow project, where they documented those different stages of technology adoption. That's one of the findings as well, that as teachers begin to use technology in their classroom, they almost face challenges like first-year teachers. They struggle with the classroom management piece. They struggle with, the pedagogical aspect. And it's not until, they get used to those things that they begin to think into more higher-order level thinking. So the other thing that we're hoping to accomplish with the reflective cases is that many of them come to realize that when they begin to think about the outcomes of their lessons. So there are, in a lot of instances, they might come back and say, it worked well, but I realized my students didn't really understand any of the stuff they've read on the internet. So then they begin to think about, okay, how can I address this pedagogical aspect in the future? So that's the key component of the reflective piece, and the ability to try it out in a field placement, because otherwise they go in with all these great expectations, and then they don't realize, some of those pedagogical constraints.
Okay, thank you very much, Chrystalla. And next week we have Nora Highland. So have a good week, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.